following program on Ada Derana 24 is classified for general audience. It is intended for all ages. It contains little or no violence, no strong language, and little or no sexual dialogue or situations. The following program contains opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed without any censorship and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
On an all-new Get Real, the country that ain't a paradise no more. Sri Lanka's economic crisis has hit an all-new high, despite the government's promise of stabilization. Yes, you can say it's getting there slowly, but at what cost? With everything at skyrocketing price levels, Sri Lankan middle class is feeling the crunch. Despite all that, every politician in our parliament, yes, the 225, is more interested in an election that we don't need right now. How will Sri Lankan businesses fare in this dire situation? Let's get some answers. Tonight joining me is the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom, Rohan Fernando.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to another episode of Get Real. Thank you very much for taking the time to check us out tonight as well. Well, you might be wondering, actually I have been getting queries about as to why Get Real has changed its format. Usually what we do is have a little bit of opinion, there's a little bit of drama going on. But now we moved on to another format because to do all that we have State of the Nation. So right now I thought let's make a little bit of a difference on Get Real and try to give this platform for notable leaders in our country to use it to voice their opinions, to be true to our tagline, to have a real view, a real opinion, and an honest conversation. So today I have a special guest and I have the pleasure of being in the company of the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom, Mr. Rohan Fernando. Good to see you, sir, once again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for inviting me.
So recently Mr. Fernando, we celebrated 75 years of independence. I don't want to ask how old you are, but I know you have been there for a very big chunk of that time. How do you assess, right now you are leading the biggest telecom service provider in Sri Lanka, and you have gone all around the world, seen a lot of things. How do you assess, because after 75 years, under our governance, each and every Sri Lankan, we bankrupt our nation. We've completely fallen flat on our face. How do you see this particular scenario that we are in right now?
Mahieash, the point is, at the time of independence in 1948 and up till about the 50s, we were a free and debt-free nation. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be born during that era, to be born in a country, debt-free and independent country. So subsequently what happened, we became a welfare nation, purely for political reasons, not for dire straits of the people in need, but for politics. So this is one of the biggest problems that we are carrying, because every time a government got elected, they gave more and more free. I don't know whether there's any other country which is such a welfare state like in Sri Lanka, other than some of these oil-rich countries like Brunei, and sometimes back Libya, Saudi Arabia. Those countries, they have excess in their cash flows. But we continue to be a welfare state. And from the time you are born till you go to the university, anybody, irrespective of its affordability or not, can have free access to all the services. It's good if you can do it, but if you can't do it, the country goes down. This is what has happened. So I think this is the problem we are facing right now. So looking at the future, we have to look at the past and the state we are in and do course correction. We can't just forget, no, what happened in the past is past and look to the future. We need to know what went wrong and get the corrections done.
This is why I'm very much interested in having conversations with individuals who have been there at that particular period of time where Sri Lanka was actually in its golden era in terms of politics, social aspects of things, even the economy. We were people who commanded the UN during Prime Minister Sirimao Bandaranaike's time. We were given such a unique position in the United Nations. People wanted to know what Sri Lanka thinks. Where did we start going wrong? You pinpointed saying welfare nation, which what was the point? Because we know we were trying to be a self-sustaining country in the 60s, but then suddenly the open economy came and everything, everybody started coming here. And right now we don't have money. We don't have the dollars. Where do you see, at which particular turning point did we start making the mistake?
You see, I don't blame the open economy. Open economy is good. Now if you take Russia, China, they have a sort of open economy. Where we went wrong, that we did not recognize our capabilities. Now we are a country that pioneered hydro technology, building tanks, reservoirs, all those things. Now, if you take Right Honorable, I very proudly call him Right Honorable D.S. Nayaka's era, we built reservoirs by ourselves. You take the Gallaya scheme, you take the Senanayaka, Samudraya, you take the Inginimitia, Min area, built by our engineers. I think I remember very vaguely, I think Mr. C.P.D. Silva was the Minister of Irrigation. They personally went into these operations and they were not rogues. They didn't make money out of this and we built this. Then what happened with open economy, as much as we wanted the open economy for competitive prices, various things, came the loan sharks who came and gave us loans. With loans, corruption began to flourish. And I think that continues to this day.
Was there a need for loans at that particular time?
I personally believe there was no need to take loans to that extent. Now some of those projects came as grants. I think Victoria Dam project was a grant to Sri Lanka. But going too much towards the foreign dominance in our development, we killed our skills, the local skills. We had a fantastic engineering operation in Sri Lanka, the irrigation department. They were doing a marvelous job, I think, at that time. Now, as you say, in Mrs. Bandaranaike's time, we were in the non-aligned movement. We had the non-aligned summit in Sri Lanka, right? And we got a pride of place amongst the non-aligned nations. Today, can we say we are non-aligned? I think we have to be non-aligned. We have to be an independent nation. We cannot become independent unless and until we become debt-free, or at least we manage our debt. So we are right now, I think, like a football in the control of foreign powers. So we have become the bully boy. We have become the football amongst the powerful nations for various reasons. So that is a very dangerous situation I see with the current geopolitics, current wars taking place in China and Russia, Ukraine. I will say China because you know what's happening in Taiwan. China surrounded Taiwan. So there are so many things can happen, and we may, without our knowledge, without our will, can get dragged into these conflicts. This is a dangerous thing which we need to avoid. I hope the President understands this and he will take proper action on this.
I want to talk more on that, but before that I want to talk about systematically from the time that you said when we started going towards loans. Now we are at like the thick of things, around $60 billion in debt, external debt, and not sure as to the accurate calculation for internal debt. And that is the situation. You are one of the key individuals when it comes to running a company that is providing more than 10,000 people, 10,000 families jobs. You are running a company in Sri Lanka amidst this economic situation. How do you analyze this?
Very simple. I think when we took over the new management, new board of directors took over SLT in 2020, we had a similar situation. We had a huge debt burden, 53 billion rupees in debt at SLT, and total dissatisfaction.
53 billion rupees.
53 billion rupees. That's a lot of money, even in rupees. And then we had lot of dissatisfaction among the staff. The unions, they were on strike every day, demanding, they were shouting against corruption, so many problems. So what we did was, we first got the confidence of the staff that the new board has come to do a genuine job, not to rob, cut wastage, improve efficiency, and consult them wherever it is necessary for the progress of the company. So with that, we have, I think, without any doubt, I think this is a success story for Sri Lanka amidst all these pandemics and problems in the country. By end of 2022, our debt we brought down to 36 billion from 53 billion without borrowing. Not borrowing and putting money in the cash flow, without borrowing. We had positive cash flows and we made good profits. 21, we made a net profit of 12 billion. And then 2022, when all the other telcos are making huge losses, I think I saw reports in the press, it's not ethical for me to talk about it. SLT very soon will announce the progress with a very, very positive bottom line.
That is the conundrum, Mr. Fernando. How come certain organizations are doing really well, but then we are not learning from them to apply the same theory, same solutions to the whole of our country? We are just like Sri Lanka Telecom can bring down the debt from 53 to around 30, and if you can make profit, that means you're doing something right. So if you're doing something right, why aren't we as a nation also looking at it and trying to apply the same solutions? Where do you see the bottleneck in solving this economic crisis?
You see, we have offered our services to the government. In fact, I intend talking to His Excellency the President and offering our services, how we can restructure these companies, and then through restructuring, get investment. You see, we need investment in a different way of privatization, public-private partnership, because the governments, I believe, should not be in business. If governments stay in business, political interference can kill the business.
That's what's happening.
So now, SLT, what we see is a public-private partnership with foreign investment, local investment, and the government partnership. So this is the ideal formula for the companies. Now we have offered, in fact, I have spoken to our staff, can't we help the government in restructuring these? But what happens is, government is sometimes advised by these economic experts. I respect their knowledge, but I don't know whether they are taking some of these success stories into account and make use of them. Very simple. I am not an economic pundit or expert, but practically we have done something good for this country.
Mr. Fernando, the problem that they are not taking your success stories because they are looking at Microsoft, they are looking at Apple, those kinds of the things. If you actually do it there, then they will write poems and poetry for you about your success stories. But if that is the case, how do you see we getting out of this crisis? Because right now, the reality, Mr. Fernando, is that we have a government, the political system. Everybody is now interested about an election, not solving the economic crisis, because apparently they think, everybody in this political establishment thinks that if we have the election, the economic crisis is going to be solved. That's a done deal in their minds. Nobody cares about the high taxes that people have to pay for, the high commodity rates that we on a daily basis experience. People can't buy the baseline of things to keep up their families, to put food on the table. And here we are talking nonsense in the political side. We don't see a collective effort by the economic minds in our country, the business community. We don't see them coming together and working on behalf of Sri Lanka. All what we see is everybody is, in their little silos and in their corners doing something, and everyone is suffering. How are we going to get out of this?
You see, we rewind back to March 2022. In March, if you look at the economic indicators, we were recovering from a deep recession because tourism was peaking at about 100,000 tourists a month. Export income was touching $1 billion a month. Then, of course, foreign remittances were around $450,000 a month. Then the Aragalaya came because of certain shortages that left room for Aragalaya to crop up. Then we saw the Aragalaya. Then several months, country was virtually bankrupt. I mean, no exports, proper exports going, no tourism. Then, of course, political parties insisted the foreign workers not to send money. So patriotic they may be, not to send money to the country, to their own people. And we saw the Aragalaya. So now we are in, this is the benefit that we have reaped. I personally believe we can't afford to have another Aragalaya or another disruption to our day-to-day life. So election at this time, I don't think is a good thing to do, because election is not going to solve any of these problems that they are talking about. It may be good for the politicians to capture power, stay in power, or to show their might, but not for the people. I don't think majority of the people want the election at this time.
Exactly.
I hope the president will have the vision and the power to, move over these demands and do justice to the country, because I don't think we need all these elections. And now these are provincial elections.
Exactly.
Divisional. Do we need this kind of operational structure? This is all cost to the government.
Yeah.
After the election, you have to maintain about 8,000.
Yeah, exactly. And not exactly, right? Like you said, they are not the most efficient bunch who will give back to the country. More to talk about with the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom, Mr. Rohan Fernando. I'm in conversation about Sri Lanka's current status, where we should go, what we should do, and exactly what kind of things that we need to be thinking about in order to get out of the current crisis we are in. The current crisis, just a reminder that we are in right now, is an economic crisis, not a political crisis. So we need to keep our minds and understand that that is where we have to provide solutions. This is Get Real. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This is Get Real. I'm in conversation with the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom, Mr. Rohan Fernando. We've been talking about Sri Lanka's current economic crisis and solutions we must be thinking as citizens of this nation, and try to figure out a solution that works for us, not a solution that works best for America or China or India or any other country. But first, we got to think about ourselves, because none of the other countries are thinking about ourselves, they're thinking about themselves. So, Mr. Fernando, we've been talking about the current economic crisis, and one of the solutions that is being provided by lots of these economic minds is the fact that in order for Sri Lanka to come out of this crisis, there should be foreign direct investments, which means foreign investors should come into the country. There should be new businesses coming in, which will bring new dollars into the coffers and make sure that we jumpstart the economic process. The problem with that theory is that not one single investor wants to come here because nothing is sure. I'm sure you go around the world on behalf of Sri Lanka Telecom, meeting lots of investors, speaking to them. What exactly are they thinking in terms of Sri Lanka at this particular moment? We've seen the talking points of the government side saying everything is good, but what is the reality of it?
Actually, Mahieash, now, as you quite correctly say, we have an economic crisis. Now, even for IMF to come in, which I personally feel whether it's the solution for all our problems, because we have gone to them for 16 times. There has to be two things we have to have. One is political stability, other one is policy structure, which has to be a stabilized policy structure. Even if we have high taxes, they should have a rollout program over the years. This is how the tax structure is going to be. Without specific policies in place, without strong political will and stability, no industry is going to come into the country. Now, at SLT, we had virtually signed several MOUs with some Intelsat to reactivate our Paduka satellite station as a new technology to be brought in. Then some of our lands to be used with joint ventures for foreign investment, several programs. But with the problems that happened last year, they withdrew. So now probably they will wait for some time to get back again. So therefore, the sooner we have our policy, our development plans, I think I saw we are now talking about the development till 48, which is a good thing, because all this time we only had political agendas, not a national agenda. We must have a national agenda to which all parties should, in the interest of the country, must agree where we want to be in 2030, where we want to be in 2040. With that national agenda for development of the economy, our social structure, we can attract investors, because this country has a lot of opportunities for investment. You see, you take the gem and jewelry sector. Now, this is a economy, to a great extent, I feel it's a grey economy, because it's cash-based transactions.
Exactly.
So this can be brought into the mainstream economy correctly for value addition, proper technology being brought in. Then you take our agricultural sector. Our whole country, even up to the independence and beyond, was a economy based on agriculture. The three main crops: tea, coconut, rubber. And then we didn't take enough action to value add these products to go to the world market correctly, to get our due share of the world market. Now, for instance, tea. I have been a proponent of the tea hub in Sri Lanka. Why a tea hub? Because to capture 6.5 billion market cap, how can you capture from 300 million? Though I'm talking about the volume of tea. Unless you have enough volume in this country, you can't go and attack that market. So you are stuck at 300 million kilos of exports. Because most people, some of them with vested interests, objected to creating a tea hub, which was considered by two governments. So Mahinda Rajapaksa's government, and subsequently, I think the UNP government also considered. I think this was first started by late Mr. Gavnisanayaka to have open the tea industry for exports, value addition, branding. We have all the capabilities in Sri Lanka, so we lost that chance. Now, Dubai, without a single tea plant of tea, is the fourth largest exporter of tea in the world. So we are getting back behind. Now it's very difficult to catch that position we lost, where we were first or second largest exporter. Now we are getting shifted back. So similarly, our other agricultural products, coconut. Now you know, coconut is a superfood in the world. In most of the developed countries, especially in America, they have a teaspoonful of virgin coconut oil in the morning. To that level, coconut has got its due recognition in the world consumer market. Have we done enough? I don't think so.
No.
We have so much more to go in that direction. Then you take the rubber industry. We have some of the largest rubber manufacturers in Sri Lanka. We can do more. You take the marine industry. We have so much of sea right down. We have internal lakes, but we still get our main protein, fish, imported from Chile. So these are the areas I think as a nation we have to concentrate and develop.
That is.
Then we get the investors to come into this country.
That particular question of not getting our act together has been there, Mr. Fernando, for more than 20 years. From small days, I know we've been talking about how we have to develop the tea industry, how we have to develop the coconut industry, how we have to develop the rubber industry and try to capture the market. We've been trying to do this for 20 years. Now it doesn't work. Now the problem here is now the reason I think, in my opinion, is because the politics have taken over than the business side of things. There is no business leadership in this country. We don't see key businesses, individuals coming together, creating a forum and telling the government A, B, C, D needs to be done in order for us to go ahead with this. Do you see that happening in the days to come?
I still don't see that's happening because this is the time the government should get all the industrialists round the table, at least in batches, ask for their views, get them present the proposals, and analyze as to how we can come out with a national plan, not just one chamber or some friendly businessman coming and telling the government what to do. So I think that is the need of the hour, that we need a broader forum of
Why
people.
isn't the business community leading it, forgetting the political side of things? Because if you take in other developed countries, you see the business tycoons are really powerful in terms of holding the business structures. They are telling the government, I need this to be done, and then we can transform our industry into whatever that is required. And through that, they are providing a lot of service to the people of that particular country. We don't see that happening. What is the issue?
I'll tell you, actually not that it hasn't happened. A lot of big businessmen have wanted the government to support. Government has also wanted to support. But what happens? You start a Aragale again. On the other side, why have you given so much of land to this company? Why are you allowing foreign companies to come and do this? These were the problems. A good example, the East Terminal. East Terminal was scuttled. Now, East Terminal, they were going to do it by themselves. Now that hasn't happened. I don't think we have money to develop East Terminal.
I think the West Terminal is
West Terminal is coming. I mean, will any foreign company will now come and do that? Because we have chased the foreigners away, thinking that this is our country, why are you coming in? And on the same platform, we are asking them to come and invest. Will they come and invest on our terms or in their terms? What the government should do is to have proper taxing mechanism, affordable taxing mechanism from the businesses rather than getting too involved in businesses. Now, some of these institutions we have a lot of potential. If you free them for investment rather than selling. I always don't use the word selling because selling is not a thing that used in any commercial sector, even abroad, unless it's a dead horse. Yeah. These are all in institutions, opportunities for investment. With investment, you have joint venture partners. That is what the government should look at. I'm sure, I hope they will do this in the future for the country to go forward.
Another thing that I want to discuss is we have always been talking about the main industries, which is tea, coconut, rubber, and all those things. But Sri Lanka now has way more potential new industries which we can be thinking about rather than we depended on tourism. COVID came, tourism was wiped out, and here we are in the biggest crisis we possibly could be in. So depending on one single industry for the whole nation seems to be a stupid move. Now, what are the industries which we can rethink and re-strategize and push forward so that they too will keep coming and share the same stage with all these other key industries which has been providing us, like tourism, tea, all those textile, those industries?
No, actually, we have done very well in the textile industry, and our companies have gone abroad and set up branch offices also. Now we take the Port City program. Now Port City is that's a gold mine that we are waiting
sitting on it.
Sitting on it. And the filling of the land, I don't think the government of Sri Lanka spent even $1.
Exactly.
And this was also objected and stopped for several years. So this is why I'm telling you, we need a national agenda. Now, fortunately, after several years, they kick-started. But just imagine it was allowed to continue.
Yeah.
By now, we would have had a flourishing financial city in the new Port City complex. So now we have got back, and now investment is totally different. People are now worried to come and invest because of the bad experiences they have. Similarly, the tourism industry, that's another industry that we can easily go into a different level of boutique hotels, luxury tourism, eco-tourism, agro-tourism, health-related tourism. There are a lot of people who would like to come and have retirement homes. So that kind of thing is still available. I don't think we are out of business. We are in business, but we have to do the business correctly.
Indeed. And let's take a short commercial break. You're watching Get Real. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This is Get Real. I'm in conversation with the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom's Rohan Fernando. Mr. Fernando, we've been talking a lot about our economy and what kind of things we need to do in order to get it at least on the correct track. One of the things I'm curious to know is because of the industry that you are in, telecommunications, last year one of the biggest issues we had, I think it started somewhere around in January, February, trickled down into March, April, is the energy crisis. The energy crisis basically affects every industry in our country. So right now, you know the drama that is happening between the PUCSL and the ministry. We don't hear a lot of solutions, but being in an industry that that needs energy to a very high extent and depends on your users having the necessary power in order to utilize your service. How do you see, as a business individual, this energy crisis not being resolved right now, and what kind of an impact will it have as we go on if we continue this?
I see there are 2 points in the energy crisis. One is the energy that we are using through CEB. Other is the energy that is available to us that we are not using. Now, if you take the CEB, as far as I know, this has been debated over a long period, that the energy we produce, the CEB, 30 to 40% is lost.
Yeah.
Either by non-payment of bills or robbing energy,
yeah,
right? The defects in the distribution network, the transmission network,
the
grid problems. So I think somebody has to take now. So today nobody is talking about this. They're only talking about the cost and the price increases. But I'm yet to see anybody talking about this problem of the power loss from generation. So if you can give some corrective measures, there is a way that we can get more power rather than losing the power that we are generating. Number two, the sun. Now we are just below the equator. So we have the sun virtually 365 days of the year. Now, have we made full use of the sun that is above us? Right?
We haven't.
This is the power that we see. We can feel, but we believe in power that we have never seen. We go to various places, then offer pujas, then we have these talismans to powers that we have never seen. Nobody has come and told us. But we see a power up. I'm not saying that we have to be sun worshippers. In the past, a lot of people are sun worshippers. But there is a power up there. So we can make it. So rooftop solar is an urgent need of the hour. Even at SLT, we have understood the need of power solutions. And we are moving fast towards rooftop solar. Then wind, there are the vertical turbines, as well as we are even looking at hydro to substantiate the power needs.
That's the sad part of that entire argument. Hydro, wind and solar, all is available to us as Sri Lankan citizens. It's available, but we are not utilizing, harnessing the power of all those areas in order to fuel our energy requirement. One of the biggest issue and the bottlenecks is the inability for CEB to come into the 21st century and provide solutions, thinking in that particular manner. What is the opportunity for the business community in order to look into this? Because if anyone is looking at, there is a market, is there a market? And is that a profitable market? And is it something that anybody can be thinking about right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, most of the private power producers, other than the mini hydros, use fossil fuels. So mini hydros are making money, but they have a problem. The government hasn't paid their dues. So there is a gap arising from that point. More than mini hydros, I feel if in the future, if all houses are encouraged and enticed to have solar roofs, you can reduce a certain percentage of consumption from the main grid. But for that, the grid has to be strengthened. So national grid has to be strengthened. I think that you have to start the project from strengthening the national grid to avoid wastage. That is where they have to start this power saving and power optimizing and power economizing concepts.
How can we use that thinking, 21st century solutions to industries that are actually still reeling in the Galyuga time? Like if you take the agriculture industry, you take our all the industries that exist. What do you think, like where can we make the change? Because if you look at countries like Vietnam, Myanmar, they are like way up there in terms of technology, utilization of technology. It doesn't matter whether you're in the city or in the rural areas, everybody has the high tech in order to get the best out of that particular industry, and we don't seem to be thinking in that manner. Our farmers are still wanting to do the same old way, which might not be productive at this particular moment, and there could be a better way of doing things. So where can we bridge that gap?
Actually, you are talking about the digital footprint.
Exactly.
That is what we need. We have given so many proposals. Actually, we are connected to all important institutions in the country through SLT for improving the digital footprint. Now, that is how countries have eradicated corruption. Even India, as big as such a big country, they have gone towards the digital footprint and towards a cashless society. When you have cash, free movement of cash, you have a lot of corruption. Today, I am sure you can take a suitcase full of cash and go and do a transaction, even a land transaction. In most countries, that kind of transactions are not allowed. Because that is where the corruption takes place. And the country is capable of transforming to a digital footprint. Even giving these subsidies to people. When I say everything is free, I feel there should be a social safety net for the poorest of the poor. That can easily be done through a digital format, giving a card. Specifying what each family or person needs, and they can draw on that one. So people going and giving cash and robbing from that stops, and the person who really needs support can get support, and then we can monitor them. They are going up or coming down. You see, with all the welfare benefits that we are given, our poverty levels are increasing, not decreasing.
Exactly.
So where has it gone wrong? obviously the money that we are pulling out to the poor is going to the wrong hands, or the money is used for the purpose that is given. So these are the tweaks that we need to do to clean our economy and our society.
How is your industry leading in that front? Digital footprint, we'll see a lot of telcos coming in and telling people, hey, these are the networks you can use and utilize and all. How exactly can you all take a leadership in that particular?
I think I'm glad that SLT has taken the leadership in expanding the digital footprint. So much so, our digital footprint is directly connected to the international communication channels, that is the CMEV cables. Now recently, we have started investing in the latest cable, CMEV 6, which is the latest technology. It's done by American company Subcom, where SLT alone is going to spend something like $50 million out of our money, for which we have kept the money, not borrowed from, not even from a bank, leave alone the government. So once we bring this high-speed technology, we can easily implement island-wide digital platform for judiciary, for health services, for education, then for the traffic systems, then police. All these institutions which are virtually on manual can become digital. And that way, life becomes easy for the citizen, and there's a lot of transparency.
This conversation about digitizing government services has been there for quite some time, and there were some versions of it coming out. But still, let's say I want to start a business. Can I go to the website of the business registration and get what I want? Can I just put my identity card with the required documents up there, and could it be verified? You see people going in physically into those institutions, long lines, staying for wasting hours. Now that conversation has been there for quite some time, but we don't see a real result. So how can we, like in the case that you are proposing, what's the difference?
You see, I saw today the digital technology ministry talking about it, but from that point, the implementation. Now we have even given a solution to the postal department, but it remains as a proposal, not implemented. Now we recently we are working with the water board to do e-meter reading of the meters electronically and developing the bill. I think that is positive mindset is there, it's happening. I think within a few months we'll be testing the water meter reading and then issuing digital bills on your mobile phone. So similarly, the most important thing for a digital transformation is the backbone of the network. SLT has laid 60,000 kilometers of fiber optics covering each and every part of Sri Lanka. So what we need is the will of the institution, the ministry, to make use of this backbone and give the connectivity.
One of the biggest questions they try to come back and say is security. We don't trust it. Somebody can do some kind of a gimmick and do some nefarious activity. But we see the rest of the world has completely gone there. So in terms of the security per se, that particular argument, how do you respond to that?
Actually, there's something called a SOC, Security Operations Center, SOC on SOC. So these systems are available right now. There are firewalls.
Is that happening here?
Yes, of course, because SLT alone has 4 data centers, one in Pitipana, 2 in Velikad, and 1 in Colombo Fort. And these carry a lot of information and data. Now, if these are not secured, do you think companies like Amazon will use our data centers for offshore storing? We give storage facilities for banks, international institutions like Amazon, then Microsoft. Some of them are using our data centers for offshore storage.
Is that profitable?
It is a profitable thing. Of course, the cost is very high. Investment cost is exceptionally high. A lot of equipment, a lot of energy needs are there. But it is an essential service that we provide. And we hope to expand this to data farms and attract more companies to come and use our data farms in Sri Lanka. Because Sri Lanka is a stable country. I think we are politically stable, and also geographically, we are not on any of the tectonic plates disturbing the underground. There will be minor tremors, but not earthquakes. So we are a safe place. Only issue that we are now trying to grapple is the continuous power supply. Of course, we have a backup power plants, but power is the only thing that concerns to go to the fourth level of activation for all companies to use it.
Is Sri Lanka Telecom thinking in terms of solar energy?
Of course, we have gone into solar energy in a big way. Already 19 our establishments have been transformed to solar. Then our headquarters now we have just completed in Velikada. It will be 14,000 square feet of roof will be covered with solar. Not only solar, rainwater harvesting. Rainwater will be used for all the toilet facilities, the gardening, car washing, everything will be. We have a 30,000 gallon rainwater harvester. So we are going into that, we are in that era. And all our towers.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Not proposals.
It's not happening. It's happening. The most of our towers are now transforming into solar and battery packs and get rid of the generators and oil consumption. So it's happening. We have started the journey. So we hope and sooner than later we will go for a green energy concept for telecommunication.
Mr. Fernando, thank you very much for sharing that, because those types of stories we rarely hear in the news. We don't hear that our people are already doing it, because we are looking at the world, we are Googling for solutions, whereas the solution is in your backyard. So I really
And one other thing I must add here, a lot of this technology we are developing internally, because we have a software. We have a R&D department. It's called the Embryo. It's a very hyperactive place. We are developing a lot of stuff. Now even that for the fiber we give a power-last battery. That was experimented, researched and developed by the Embryo unit, and is manufactured in Sri Lanka.
Very quickly, we are running out of time. You said that there are lots of people who's working there. We also see a brain drain occurring in Sri Lanka at this particular moment. How do you tackle that? Do you see a lot of your wealth going overseas?
You see, this brain drain, I would say migration, it's happening worldwide. A lot of people think grass is green on the other side. Even today there was a resignation and the person going abroad. So we have left room for them to come back. When they got fed up, come back, because they say whatever roads a man may roam, best of all is one way home. I know they will come back. But in the interim period, we have upgraded our training center in Valisura to an institution of technology with the University of some universities in the UK and some grants that we are getting from the US. And there we hope to induct people, school leavers, A-level students. We will hire them for attitude, have an aptitude test and train them for skill. So we want to upskill them, to train them in IT, and even facilitate them to do external degree locally or abroad in IT. So that way we want to bridge this gap, what we call the brain drain. I wouldn't call it a brain drain, I would call it a migration of people.
Temporary migration, I would say. Thank you very much, Mr. Rohan Fernando, the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom, speaking about solutions rather than continuously talking about problems. We've been talking about, you watch the news, it's all problems. So thank you very much for being here and sharing your ideas. I really appreciate it. Well, that's all the time we have for you tonight. Thank you very much for watching Get Real. Make sure that you tune on to other than NH24 tomorrow for State of the Nation.